So in 2005, my wife Susan and I bought the Clinton Rosette home, and at the time we didn't really know what we were getting into. But who was Clinton Rosette? What's it like to live in a historic home, and all that? So there are plenty of things I can say about that in a little bit. But for those of you who might not know a whole lot about Clinton Rosette, he's widely regarded as one of the driving forces behind locating the Northern Illinois State Normal School, or the Teachers College, which later became NIU. He's one of the driving forces behind bringing NIU, or its forerunner, to DeKalb. So you know about the barbed wire barons, Glidden, and Elwood, and Stephen Bigelow, who's joining us here today, reminded me that this date is actually incorrect. This patent is also from 1874. So I'll go back to my original source and see. But how much do you know of the man who dreamed of bringing higher ed to DeKalb? A couple of important dates. He was born in 1850, we think in April, in southwestern DeKalb County in Paw Paw Township. And by 1873, he married Alpharetta, or Alpha as she would like to be called. And then they moved to DeKalb in 1875. And that's where they started a school together, Alpha and Rosette. They were both educators and had a little small private school that they ran until about 1880, when Joseph Glidden, who at the time owned the first newspaper of DeKalb, the Daily Chronicle, what we call the Daily Chronicle today. Glidden hired Rosette to be the first editor of the paper. The paper had been around a little bit before Glidden bought it, and then hired Rosette, but I guess it didn't have a proper editing structure. It wasn't quite the paper that it could have been until Glidden, the publisher, and Rosette, the editor, got together and turned it into a respectable paper. And so the two of them worked, really were kind of a big partner in DeKalb, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. So Rosette began building the house that my wife and I live in 1884, shortly after they bought the property in 1884. And for those who have seen the home, perhaps you've read the article in Corn Silk, and there's a picture of it. The original home had an open porch, which was later sealed up, and frankly looks terrible. But the house, completed in 1890, still stands. I can attest to that. My wife and I spent a little bit of money improving the place, or at least keeping it standing. I mentioned Rosette, the founding editor of the DeKalb Chronicle. Here is the building in 1899, seen from the east. And Mr. Bigelow, was it on the third floor, the paper? That's right there. And of course, a nice little Getty photo I just snuck in here about how he and Alpha ran a private school. So, Mr. Glidden, Mr. Heish, and Isaac Elwood were all very powerful men, but the one thing a journalist like Mr. Rosette would have had are sources, which can be very, very valuable. And Rosette had sources who told him that the committee at the state of Illinois had a committee that was trying to set up regional normal schools throughout the state. The state saw a need to increase the level of the teaching profession, and then setting up teaching colleges throughout the state. And Rosette had sources who told him that Northern Illinois was the next place where they were going to build locate a teacher's college. And there were many, many competitors, the communities competing for this school. Rockford, Oregon, Dixon. So Rosette, being someone very interested in education, and Glidden also was a teacher, I believe, in his earlier years, they got together and decided that they were going to go after this normal school for DeKalb. And here's something I took from the NIU Digital Archives. This is a picture of the first class of teachers at the normal school. This is Altgeld Hall, right here, right there. So it became a success somehow that they were able to locate the school here. And how did they do it? A lot of lobbying. They got local state senator, then Senator D.D. Hunt, to advocate for them in Springfield. They got Rosette and Glidden got Isaac Elwood involved, and Jacob Heish. People who were rivals at times with competing patents. These were people who were suing each other over patent infringements. And yet they all got together and decided to push to get NIU, or the normal school, located here. and opened up in 1895. So how could DeKalb win this college? There was a joke that they got together and decided to flood the Kishwaukee River so it would look like an impressive body of water. And it's worth noting that the competing communities, Dixon, Oregon, Rockford, all had impressive rivers next to them. The Rock River, at least in these communities, was quite large, quite impressive. Freeport was another one. At this stage of the Kishwaukee River, naturally it's not, you could jump across it. I actually fell into it in 1987, shortly after arriving in DeKalb. And the legend is true, you stay in DeKalb forever. But first, before you can have a conversation about going after a state normal school, you have to have a place to eat, drink, and discuss. And the Rosettes bought a home, and here I'm going to show you the first of 3 slides from the property abstract, which I have over here actually. This shows the sale from William H. Day and Sarah Day to Clinton Rosette in 1884. The property, and that's the north half of lot 8, south half of lot 9, and then for the price of $600, just for the property. Haven't even built the house yet. Yeah, so kind of a cool thing to have. And this property abstract has been really interesting and useful to show how the Clinton Rosette home is connected to other important places in town, which I'll get to in a bit here. So here's the home. I took this photo in June. So a nice sunny day. Over the years, the porch had been opened up again, and you can see that. But it's basically the same style, the really distinctive gables, and just this fantastic, huge door. I think it's like 4 feet wide, maybe 5 feet wide, so if you're moving heavy furniture in, that's a great place to do that. One of the interesting things, if you were a working person or middle-class person and building a home in the 19th century, it was very common for people to start, well, they would live in the home while the house is under construction. So in our dining room, the Rosette's dining room, that's the first house, actually, that they built the house, the dining room, which is for us, the dining room. And you can see a bump out here where they would have put the stove. And people who've inspected the foundation, structural engineers, etc., told us that the foundation is very clearly different underneath what is now the dining room compared to the rest of the house. So they lived in this room and built the house around them, essentially. So it's a lot cheaper than living in a hotel for a year or whatever, how long it takes. One of the things about the house in general, any Victorian home, if you're the type of person who likes to decorate, and my wife is certainly a very talented decorator, when it comes to traditional holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, or Halloween, I'm a big fan of Halloween, you can do so much with a Victorian house just because of the proportions of the rooms. When you're working with something like 9-foot ceilings, it just becomes so easy. It's a perfect canvas to do decorating, and I could let Susan go on about that at some point. So anyway, that's the dining room now. And for those who read the article that is in Corn Silk, it's also on my Medium account, I talk a little bit about the parlor. And this is where any meetings that would have taken place in the Rosette home about going after the normal school between Rosette, Glidden, Elwood, Senator D.V. Hunt, they would have all taken place in this parlor right here. And you can see it's got one of these neat little features here, brown marble and some gold painting in the carvings there. It's pretty cool. It's electric now, rather than getting something to do stuff logs in every time. So it's convenient, just light it with a remote. But I suppose at some point it could be converted back if we ever decided to do that. One of the things about this parlor, which is the reason why we bought the house when we saw it in February of 2005, we bought it from Michael Verbeek. I don't know if anybody, we walked into this room and, instantly we had our love history goggles on. We just saw this is a fantastic room. I saw myself writing and reading in this place. I wrote 2 novels in this room right here. parlor. So it's been a very, very good environment to do that. And a good place to read. You can put large furniture in there.
What book are you reading?
Yeah. Shameless plug, right? This is
That's product placement.
Yeah, right. This is one of the things that I didn't quite know about until Susan and I started talking about. We have several of these lamp or mounts in the downstairs, and it occurred to me that these will probably, it occurred to Susan actually, that these are probably gaslight lamps, which is a really cool feature. It would be nice to be able to replicate that in some way, again, if we could. And oh, by the way, we just left the previous owners had that, and I kind of like the red light. I'm not sure how Susan likes it, but I convinced her to keep them. Directly above, we call the brown room. This is right above the parlor. One of our favorite rooms upstairs. Again, a large proportion room that you can decorate. You can just spend a lot of time decorating, which is a lot of fun for us. Okay, this is a rather interesting thing. It was an article that Stephen Bigelow wrote, one of many about the house, or at least a few that he wrote about the house and published in the Chronicle. In 2000, I want to say early 2005, maybe it was late 2004, Mr. Bigelow wrote an article announcing that the house was for sale. The Clinton Rosette home was for sale. And one of the things he referred to that I've never forgotten in the article is an undulating wall upstairs. And I've never really understood why someone would have a wall that curves, because think about this. You've got quarter rounds at the bottom. You've got to make them fit. It's not an easy sort of thing, how to do that. But this is the only wall that undulates. It's reflected, again, in the bedroom on the interior. As we were talking before this, Stephen suggested that maybe there was some. This is something that spiritualists liked doing with a home, and we are not sure of any kind of spiritual interest or connections that Clinton Rosette had. He certainly never. There's nothing that I've seen in any of the archives written about that. But that may be a reason for this quirk, because it's. When you're plastering a wall, I mean, is that something you want to go to a little bit of extra expense to get that curve? I don't know. Yes.
One of the things I've heard is that with round churches and everything, there's no corners, so the devil can't hide. So it could be, that would be the, yes.
Okay, now I don't know what denomination. I assume that maybe a Christian's denomination, perhaps, but I don't know what faith community he was part of. Was that?
We learned this down in Charleston area, so I mean that's a very early colony. So.
Okay. Well, this is fascinating. Okay. I'm actually going to dig around a little bit, find out more, because that is one of those things that's for me. It's just always caught my attention every time I pass by that. I think, okay. One of the things that's really interesting is the friendship and partnership that Rosette had with Joseph Glidden. Not only was there an employee-boss relationship, the publisher to Glidden, the publisher, and Rosette, the editor of the paper. Actually, when Joseph Glidden died in, I want to say, 1906, do I have that right? 1906. He basically set it up so that Clinton Rosette would become the publisher of the paper as well. And then, Rosette only lived another 3 years after that, so that's when the paper got sold. Interestingly enough, you might remember a slide back with the original, one of the first slides with the abstract title, showing that it costs $600 for Clinton Rosette to buy the property. He got a loan from Joseph Glidden. And here's something else from the property abstract showing that. So Clinton Rosette to Joseph Glidden covers the same lot that we were talking about, given to ensure the payment of one promissory note with interest at 8%, which by recent standards, when money has basically been free, is still not bad actually. For I forget what we paid when we had the loan in 2005. Yeah. But at any rate, so here it was notarized. The loan is $500. So Rosette and Alpha had $100, and then they needed an additional 500. And here's a quick claim right below that. And I should say an abstract is not the primary source, but it tells you enough about where you can find those primary sources. So here's a quick claim where Joseph Glidden releases all right, title, interest to and regarding this certain mortgage dated August 9th, 1884, and recorded in the recorder's office in book 49, blah, blah, blah. So you can actually go look for that, which is really kind of cool. And then, yeah, $1 for the recording fee right there. But there it is. That's an important document showing Joseph Glidden's connection to the Rosette home, which is kind of cool. And so, when I first arrived, I actually gave Jesse the property abstract. I said, "Here it is, page 16. Go and take a copy." So, let's see. Oh yes, and it's worth noting. You probably don't know all this if you are regulars here. That Joseph Glidden's final resting place is in Fairview Cemetery. Nice mausoleum, by the way. Rosette's is a little more modest, but still very, very nice. Same place, Fairview Cemetery, 1909 is when he died, so he was 59. And now we have the widow, Alpha Rosette, who died a few years later in 1912. And here's an interesting thing that the property abstract showed us, where after, the Rosettes had no children. So what happens when both of them die? Where does the house go? Alpha, and one assumes maybe she had some conversations with Clinton before his death, decided that she would bequeath the house. She would sell off the house, or she sold off the house, or the house made it so that the house would be sold after she died. And the DeKalb Public Hospital would get a large portion of the proceeds from the sale of the home. And so, if you remember the DeKalb Public Hospital on Fisk Avenue or Street, that later became a school, and I guess is ready to be developed again soon into apartments, or at least that's the attempt again to do that. But that was the DeKalb Public Hospital, and that building received a lot of the proceeds when the Rosette home was sold. Again, dated this date, 25th day, June 1912. That's the last will and testament. And of course, there's a building on Fisk Avenue, the old hospital, which is just a short walk.
St. Mary's.
DeKalb Hospital was on
Public hospital was on South First.
Is that right?
No,
It's
it's
it's a precursor to the.
Oh, good. All right. I'm going to adjust the
Now,
slide.
the Little Barb City Manor
Uh-huh.
became DeKalb Public Hospital, or the Glidden Hospital.
Thank you all. Okay, this is very important as I decide to, as I plan to write a little something about this further out. So that's good to know. So the old Barb City Manor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
First street sign.
Okay, good. Thank you for pointing that out. And then, well, there's Alpha's headstone, Fairview Cemetery as well. So the house went through some changes. We think in the early 1900s, after the house was sold, after Alpha sold the house, the porch was enclosed. And I can see why this would be efficient for reasons of, they keep the house warm in the winter and cool in the summer, etc. But it's an eyesore, I think. So there was an attempt to kind of dress that up and behind that. So this is also from the late 1990s. Notice the still enclosed porch. Yeah. I don't know what the neighbors had to say about that.
Sure, money.
Yeah. Interesting note, this hackberry here, which had been struck by lightning, was beginning to get disease and opened up. That leaned over toward the bedroom, the bedroom that you saw earlier in an earlier slide. And so we eventually had to take that tree down because we were worried about it crashing into the house. So that tree, alas, hackberry, you looked good for a while, but we had to take it down, sorry. And then the porch was reopened in the early 2000s. And that's, we think it looks a lot better. So, and then, just a week ago or so, I took this photo, or maybe Susan did, I forget. And then that's just what it looks like today. Did a little bit of landscaping around the house. I'm sure you all have questions. I love Q&A, so if you want to ask anything if you have any questions or comments that you want to share with the group, or maybe you have extra knowledge about the house that that I would love to receive that knowledge. Because, like I said, we've only lived in the house since '05. March, I think we bought it, and every day it seems like we're learning something new about it. So, yeah. Do you have any comments? Go ahead. Yeah, questions?
Did he have any siblings or any other relatives? You said he had no children.
No children. There is a sibling, one that we know of, Bailey Rosette. So just 2 doors down, that direction, says apartment building, and then a very grand house on the corner of, is it Oak? Yes, Oak. That house was built by Bailey Rosette, the younger brother of Clinton Rosette. It was owned by the Kowalskis for a long time, Jeff and Mary Kowalski, before they moved to Maine, I believe, or Philadelphia, I forget, out east. And so we've been in that house, the Bailey house, and it's quite nice because one of the things that impressed us was that the woodwork had been left unpainted, so which is fantastic. I've often thought maybe we strip away the paint in some of the interior of our house, but I'm not sure we want to do that. So.
I was gonna say, be my guest.
Yeah,
Huge
a lot
project.
of fun.
Huge project.
Yeah, it is huge. But any questions about Mr. Rosette, Alpha, or about the relationship between he and Glidden, Joseph Glidden?
Was there a carriage house on the property?
Well, it may have, yes, there's a detached garage. I didn't take a photo of it, but a 2-door garage that came with it, and yeah, so I guess that would have been the carriage house.
I read or heard, I don't remember exactly how it, or what source it was, that Elgin also was bidding for NIU.
Yeah, okay, so they're on the Fox River, so again, a nice, a big river to impress the state inspectors with. Yeah.
Oh, the story, yeah, I don't remember where I read it, but it was a case in which there was a mental hospital in the balance.
Okay.
So it was either the mental hospital or NIU, I don't know, both towns had a choice, but apparently Elgin ended up picking the mental hospital. I don't know if they still have it, but we wound up with the university.
Yeah, a madhouse of a different sort. But yeah. So we win. We get the so yeah. Of course, the university came with a lot more jobs. I mean, I think it's still the largest employer in the area, which is quite something. So DeKalb went up there. Yeah.
So you said that lobbying was a major way by which they got the university here. That takes money. He had some money, but it sounds like Joseph Glidden and the other folks were the ones. Was it just them, or were they able to recruit others in DeKalb? I mean, what was that process like?
We know that it was Hayes, also Glidden, and Elwood especially, but I think there was something that may have tipped the scales in favor of DeKalb, and that is Joseph Glidden donated, what was it, 63 acres of his own land to the incoming school. That's something that's going to be well received, I think, by the state. So yeah. Yes.
Is your house on the historical designation, or do you care to have that?
Oh well, I know the neighborhood has been declared some sort of a preservation neighborhood, so that a developer can't just be the first buyer and But we're not in any state or national register of historic places. If we were to do that, or to apply for that, there would be some interesting considerations that we'd have to think about. And one of them is, all this here, we like this siding, it's vinyl. We like them, it looks nice. The fish scales up here, which kind of echo the original house a bit, let me go back to that, are vinyl as well. We really like that, but of course we would have to remove that. We would have to go back to the original. Let me see if I can find. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, there is fish scaling.
Yeah. I think similar, very similar. So that's something we would have to think about. And I have never peeled paint off of wood. Before adding another layer of paint. I'm not sure I want to, but you know, the great thing about it is that when you own a home like this, you are taking on the job of caretaker, right?
Yes.
So you are, how do I say this? You're investing your time and your sweat and, of course, money into keeping it upright. And at some point, the caretaker may decide to move on and downsize or whatever and hand the reins over to another person who's willing to do that. My guess is if any push to get this house eligible for consideration by the National Register would probably be the future owners of the place. So, yeah.
What changes have you made to the house since you had it? You're the one who made the porch into a porch again, or?
Well, actually, I believe the Verbicks did that before us. And they also added the siding and replaced the windows and did a nice job of that. What we did is we did a complete tear off of the roof. Let's see, there was on the southwest side of the house, we needed to shore up the foundation, so we did that. Other things that we did, you know, immediately when I was the first one to move in, and Susan was still living in her condo in townhome in Rockford. The first thing we did after I moved in was to refinish the floors. So that was really, we got a sense then of just how lovely the floors were after having been covered in layers of gunk for years. They got a real nice shine on them after that we moved in. Other things we did. Susan, you have the entire list of receipts of things that we did.
Well, when we bought the house, there weren't any railings on the porch. It was just wide open, and that made me nervous. I didn't like the safe, you know, it just didn't feel safe. So we added the railings to the outside of the porch and down the steps. There were only 3 cement steps, or no, 5 cement steps going up to the back door. You know, no railing. It just didn't feel safe, and so we built a small deck or porch on the back. We replaced the fence. There was a wooden picket fence on each side, and there was a 6-foot fence on the alley. The picket fence, of course, just kind of collapsed, as they do. So we've installed a 6-foot vinyl fence all the way around the back. Let's see, we redid the bathroom upstairs. There was just
Like a single vanity, maybe?
yeah, it was a wooden cabinet kind of a. We wanted to stick with the period of the house. We bought one of those really beautiful carved wooden vanities with the marble top onto it. When we replaced the flooring, it was just linoleum flooring in the bathroom upstairs, and we put a beautiful tile up there as well.
The kitchen.
We replaced flooring. There were 3 layers of linoleum on top of the maple flooring. And we thought we were going to have to replace the flooring with wood, and then once they got all of the vinyl off, the original maple flooring was there. It's not perfect, but it still sticks with the character of the home, so we kept that and maintained that, and really enjoyed that.
I personally loved it. I think
Yeah, and we replaced the countertops in the kitchen, updated appliances, that kind of thing.
Right, yeah. Now, the maple in the kitchen resembles the maple in the dining room, which would be
Right,
the first,
yeah.
you know, the first part of the house, essentially. So
We've replaced some of the crown molding in the dining room. We replaced the crown molding, I'm trying to think what else. Oh, spindles in the staircase upstairs. There are quite a few missing and mismatched ones, so we replaced that as well. So, replaced all the doors in the second floor as well. We put in the 6-panel doors. So whatever we can to improve it and just love on it. The transom windows upstairs on the bedrooms, we replaced with stained glass windows. I had a friend who did stained glass, so now we have stained glass in the transoms, which really add a lot of character. So we want to keep adding and building character to the place and just love on it as much as possible, because I think it's a precious home that needs to be maintained and kept going for centuries if possible.
one thing we left, and it was a conscious, we both talked about this quite a bit. The previous owners, the Verbicks, did something really clever with, you know, it's not easy to wallpaper plaster walls. So throughout the house, they put up patches or torn off patches of a really nice wallpaper that allows the I don't know, just gives it a sort of feel to the upstairs where it looks, I don't know, it looks authentic or to the period, but it also conceals any bumps or flaws that you might find in a plastered wall. So throughout a good portion of the house, and actually, they just did this. We left. We thought it was a really nice feature and another one of those low maintenance things. You know, we try to cheat where we can.
Well, we did, yeah, I forgot about that, we replastered 3 ceilings. The
Yes.
ceiling in the parlor, the ceiling in the room that was in the photo, the bedroom, and the other bedroom that's beyond the undulating wall there.
Right.
We replastered those ceilings as well, so we're really, again, just loving the house and want to, you know, keep the heritage alive. And again, we'll pass it on to somebody else at some point, and then hopefully they'll make their improvements as well.
Yeah. They'll go through a rigorous interview process. We're not just selling things.
Yeah, I love our house.
Yeah. But all that is at least 2 or 3 years away. So, yeah.
You know if Rosette did any writing besides for the newspaper?
I've been looking around. He didn't keep, as far as I know, a diary, which would have been really helpful. So I think, you know, basically he did, the only writing I'm aware of is what he did for the paper. Yeah. And any letters he wrote to Senator Hunt or to Joseph Glidden. I think you guys now know everything that we know about the house. There's these little bricked up areas or that may have a secret passage or something or a secret store of the documents, but we haven't gotten that far yet.
I don't know, at one point the house was student housing, you know, it was a rental property for a long, long time, or the Burbicks bought it.
Right.
And they were the original owners to really start making changes and improving things. And they were kind enough to leave us a photo album of what things looked like before they started working on it. And I don't think I would have had the nerve or the guts to take on what they took on originally.
Yeah.
For us to buy it and then take it to another level beyond the Burbicks, but they got the ball rolling on it.
And of course, they transferred the property abstract to us as well. They kept, because without that, we would have very little understanding of the history of the home and its connection to NIU, Joseph Glidden, and et cetera. So. Well, one day, we'll give the place a thorough cleaning and decorating, and we'll invite everybody. You're all invited at some point in the future to join us for a coffee, tea, maybe champagne or something.
Run the house walk.
Yeah.
Between Oak and Pine. So, yeah. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
And while you're here, our blacksmith is heading back. And so if you'd like to go and see our blacksmith, Marty there's some of his work is in the little gift shop here, but otherwise you can go see him in action. So that is going on right now.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to do that. And another note is that a year from this October will be the anniversary, the 150th anniversary of the invention of our wire, of Joseph Glidden's, the winner.
Yeah. Right, the winner. Yeah. Fantastic. So that's next October, you said?
October.
Yeah. Fantastic. Hey, thanks for covering. I look forward to your perspective tomorrow.
Hey,
Yeah.
anyone who wants a tour of the house,